Welcome everyone. I am Beth and this is Spiral Path Arts, and I'm so happy to have you with me today. Let's go a little crazy with crazy quilting. As you can see here by my little collection, it's been one of my recent obsessions, and I just really love all the options that crazy quilting gives you, and of course color and texture are my thing, so I wanted to share it with you, but I also had some thoughts on it while I've been working on it. And one of the things is have been working on these projects for the last couple months, and then when I started planning this video, well, the news of Ozzy Osbourne's passing punched most of us Gen Xers in the gut. But of course, as is the case when you reach our age, these things are not necessarily unexpected and all that. This isn't about Ozzy, but of course, with all the memorials and the retrospectives and of course the concert that they did a couple weeks before, aired a couple weeks before his passing, his music has been in the forefront again. And, you know, when we're talking crazy, how can we ignore Crazy Train, right? Now, I'm journaling and I'm outlining and I'm stitching and I'm thinking about how I want to present all this to you. I hear the news about Ozzy. I hear the song Crazy Train, of course, probably numerous times. And, of course, the way my ADHD brain works is I start going down, like, different rabbit trails of thought. I call it when you give a mouse a cookie, and if any of you are familiar with that book, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I went from Crazy Train, and then that was stuck in my brain as an earworm for a few days, and then of course Prince's Let's Go Crazy, Let's Go Nuts gets in my head. And then one of my all-time favorite classic songs, Patsy Cline / Willie Nelson's Crazy, gets in my head. So now I'm imagining all three of them, not Willie, don't take my Willie, not ready for that one yet, but Patsy, Prince, and Ozzy hanging out wherever on the other side of this mortal coil that they are. No judgments and no spiritual or religious theories are presented here today, but they're all hanging out and they're having a really eclectic jam session wherever they are, with some really amazing vocals and some really amazing musicality and instrumentals and guitar riffs and all the things. So just let me put that crazy idea into your head and we'll go from there, right? But as I was going down this crazy train of thought, crazy train, you know, get it? Haha. I realized that all three of these artists were groundbreaking in their own time and in their own way, and many times a little bit rule-breaking as well. They didn't do things the way everyone else did them. Coincidentally, the same day, and I was in here piecing together some random backgrounds for more crazy quilting. I'm working, well here, let me show you what I'm working on right now. Obviously, Christmas stockings. This is one from the ones I did last year, a smaller one, that never got finished, never got stitched. So, but of course I didn't find that one until I wanted to make more, and I couldn't find the template either. So I drew up a new template, and the new template is slightly larger. Actually, it's not that much larger. It's just, unfortunately, narrower up here at the top, which might be a problem. But anyway, I drew up a new template, a new pattern. So, let me show. This one is still work in progress. Another little experiment I've been working on is trying different methods of image transfer. It was supposed to be a video, but it got so frustrating, and it was a rabbit hole. And maybe I'll come back to it. But anyway, that's topic for another day. So this one I just started stitching on last night. So we'll set that one aside for a moment. But these are the ones that I've been really working on
me see if I can get these under the camera without too much glare and get it to focus. But as you can see, I have been going, come on, focus up, bananas with different stitches, silk ribbon, threads, beads, and we'll talk a little bit about the use of spider webs. It's a traditional thing in Victorian crazy quilting. Okay, here's another one. I'll show you the whole thing here if I can get it all in frame. You know, I've added lace. I've added little, I have hexagons coming out the woohoo around here. So just all kinds. And of course, I'm trying to keep it somewhat simple because these are actually going to be for sale locally. And I want to keep the price point reasonable, but also charge what they're worth. So it's a fine line between making them perfect or making them fancy and overdoing it. This one, it's kind of now for something a little bit different. I just went with a softer palette, a more maybe, I don't know, feminine. I think they're all pretty feminine, but just a more pastel and a lot more silk ribbon. I was really on a silk ribbon kick the night I was working on this one. Okay, so anyhow, I have gone into this passion big time. Oh, that's okay. And I was in here putting together more blocks. And these are not all the same size because I don't care. I am a true member of the I Don't Care Club, and I don't care if all my crazy quilt patches are the same, blocks are the same size. They'll be what they are. They're more for the process, and eventually I'll put them into something. But anyway, not the point of what I'm trying to get to. I'm in here piecing all of these together. And I have a video on. I actually have the author's book right here to my side, and I'll share her with you in a moment. But she's talking about crazy quilting, and she is saying how the point of crazy quilting, and I'm going to paraphrase and probably misquote, so don't, when you're putting together your crazy quilt blocks, use solids or very limited prints, because the stitching is, the point, or, what you really want everything to focus on, which I agree. In traditional quilting, crazy quilting, that is where it's at. That is what you want to do. So, but the big, well, what about if I do use, I love old scrappy quilts, especially with antique fabrics, the vintage fabrics, the 30s and 40s, the feed sack prints, all that stuff. Color, texture, and fancy stitching, that's one thing I love. But old school, scrappy quilts, use what you have, slow stitching, also huge part of my practice, my stitching practice. So I thought to myself, well, and I was actually already halfway through putting this block together when I heard her say, stay away from busy prints and clashing colors because it's all about the stitching. And I was like, well, but what if it isn't? What if it's about not the final stitching, not the fancy, pretty stitching all the time? It has its place, right? But it doesn't have to be all it's all about. So, could it also just be about, like slow stitching is, that it's just about the practice of stitching? It's about reusing what you have and playing with texture, and not necessarily about getting all fancy. So, as much as I love traditional, fancy silks and satins and all the pretties,
traditional crazy quilting. I felt like the crazy quilting gauntlet was dropped, and I wanted to know if I could make crazy quilting slow stitch. So and in thinking of this and working on this little piece, and just kind of as a stitch meditation, because really that's what slow stitch is all about. For me, the fancy stitching that I put on these is the dopamine hit I get from this is what new stitch can I learn? What new combination and colors and textures can I put together? How much can I put on one piece and still have it look kind of okay? That's what my mental health needs when I'm working on this kind of project. But sometimes I just need to sit and stitch meditation and not think too much. Although there's a little thinking in here. There's a few experiments here and there. And I also think that one of the things that really intimidates a lot of people about traditional crazy quilting are all those stitches, are all the varieties and different techniques, and it looks so overwhelming that that a lot of people get intimidated by it. So I think by combining the two and doing the kind of Boro Sashiko kind of just running stitch in different directions and different colors in a mindful, meditative way is a nice change of pace when it comes to crazy quilting. Now, what would this look like if I made a full bed throw out of it or something, or just a throw blanket or even a pillow cover? I don't know. I mean, oftentimes when combining, in my opinion, when combining colors and patterns, I love randomness, and I also believe sometimes what works is you just keep throwing more colors, more patterns until it looks intentional. In this one single block, there is one, like the Sesame Street song goes, one of these things is not like the other. I have very kind of vintagey looking colors or floral prints, and then I have, this is vintage, but this red and gray and white and black just, so I tried to tone it down with some gray stitching over it. But if I did enough other blocks where I picked up these colors and put some more of this fabric in, it would look a little more intentional than one oddball section. But isn't that also the point of scrappy quilting and slow stitching, and even a little bit some crazy quilting, to just take whatever piece, whatever size, and throw it in there and see what happens. And that's how I like to quilt. I used to quilt the old way with, and I still occasionally do. I have some projects that need to be revisited, but that's a topic for another day. Where you go and you select all your fabric and you get your fat quarters or all the things, and everything coordinates and everything is beautiful. And when it's, you're kind of guaranteed a good result in the end. I also just like the happenstance of just grab something out of the bag and throw it in, such as my bed quilt that I've shared with you before. But since we're on the topic of crazy quilting, and I've introduced this idea, and I love this idea, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about, can crazy quilting be slow stitching? I think it can. There's no police, right, that are going to slow stitching police. So, but do you like this idea? Do you think it's something you would try? So let me know. But let's get back to the, if this, I wanted to bring the musical, the artist metaphor back in, but I don't know where to go with it. This might be Ozzy Osbourne, except the prints are not Ozzy prints. I don't know. And we have our more traditional, and we have our very glitzy and fancy prints. And I don't know. Help me in the comments with making that all tie together. Actually, I should turn it where you can see it. Okay. So, in my adventures in crazy quilting, I have had a couple books that I've had for quite a while. And I return to an occasion. This one, I think I have another. Oh, I do. It's right here. So, Judith Baker Montano. I believe she's Australian. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could look it up in here really quick. I've had these books since, I don't know, from early 2000s, I think. Maybe this one I haven't had as long, but I had another one of her books that I have misplaced or sold or gotten rid of. But anyhow, I have always loved her work, and she's probably the first author and artist that inspired me to like learn how to do this. I'd always loved the look of them, and but had no idea how you got that look. She does, especially in this book, is not as crazy quilt focused. It's more silk ribbon and focused. And I know I had another one of her silk ribbon books, but I wish I still had it. Don't know what happened to it. But there's a lot of really good instructions on how to do different stitches and different looks. So I've had this book for decades and refer to it for a lot of inspiration. And then I think when I wanted to learn more about crazy quilting specifically, I've got this book. And I believe I got this book from a used bookstore or maybe, thrift books. Yes, online thrift books. So, there's a project that never happened, unrelated to what's in here. But anyhow, there's a lot of good information. What is the published date of this book? 2001. So, to me, that seems like just a couple years ago, but I realize now that was 2.5 decades ago. So here you have it. But she does show how to actually piece the blocks, which I was going to do a whole demo on, and I've decided that let's just talk about it. And there are resources. There are resources in these books, and there are resources on other resources online. So here's my OG ride or die silk ribbon and crazy quilt chick. But then, here's also another really old book that I've had forever. Again, can we find a published date in here? 1993. So, and it's not very inspiring. The colors and things are really, it's your 1990s, late 80s kind of look. But if you want to know how to do a certain stitch or combination of stitch, it's probably in here somewhere. And I was just trying to do cabled chain stitch last night and was struggling. I didn't think to look in here. Anyway, so any kind of, and these are the kind of things that you can find in thrift stores or online thrift stores or used bookstores or estate sales. I foolishly tried to sell this at a garage sale once. That's why there's a little price sticker on it. Good thing nobody knew what they were missing when they didn't buy it, because I kept it and I've referred to it many times since then. Okay, so those are my basics and go-tos. But I can't leave a good book behind, so I did a while ago get this book, and Kathy Seaman Shaw. And this one is also very, it's got all the good stuff in the beginning, all the stuff about different threads and needles and silk ribbon. I was so deep into silk ribbon for a while there in the 90s. Let it go, but I still have all my silk ribbons because, I'm a hoarder. Now that I'm back in it, I want all the silk ribbons again. She has an interesting, this is not how I work, but if you want more like direction and control, she has this whole thing about making these stitch templates and like printing them on vellum paper or printable clear acetate sheets, whatever. And she even gives you all of them in here so you could scan these in and print them. Again, not how I work. I just kind of fart around and figure it out, and I like mine to be a little, if they're okay, if they're a little wonky, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. But what we're talking, all of these that I'm going to be showing you and have showed you, as far as the basics of crazy quilting, is you start with some kind of foundation stitch, something along the seams. And in this book and another book I'll show you in a second, they basically break it down into a variation of blanket stitch, a variation of a chevron stitch, cretin stitch, herringbone, or feather stitch, and occasionally just a straight stitch kind of thing. But then there are, within that, so those are the base ones. Those are the ones that, I'm trying to find that one I was just working on. These are the ones that just go along the seam line before you add all the embellishments, all the little beads and silk ribbon and extra flowers and bullion stitches and French knots and all the things. They're just the basics. They're just the foundation that you build upon. So there's good information in here. And then also there are like the flowers, which I would probably personally refer to Judith's book for the flowers, and the other one I'm going to show you in a second. But hey, if you just want to get into crazy quilting and embroidering on it, this is probably a really good place to start. So then there's a little color section for inspiration. Spiders, she does talk a little bit about spiders in here too. So here we have, these are all, based on blanket stitch. These are all chevron stitch, chevron, and then we get into cretin stitch, and more cretin stitch, feather stitch variations, and somewhere we finally get into herringbone. So she has, and then some straight stitch options in the back. And then here is where we get into this 480 variations. Now, I don't think I've copied or used any of them. Well, maybe that one. I think I did do that one on something. Is that, where are we? I think that is fundamentally, can you see that? This one, and come on, get up there. That one are fundamentally the same thing, although I might have done a few things slightly different. Well, I didn't put the little green ribbon leaves in there, but anyway, you have, then there are just all these instructions. And if you don't know, it'll tell you what stitch you need, and if you don't know how to do that stitch, you can refer back to the beginning and you'll find it. Very well laid out book. You've got 480 options. Like I said, I haven't really gone, I flip through here and get an idea. And then I'm like, well, that's a nice basic one. I can toss that one. I maybe don't do it exactly the way, but if I want something a little bit more. Anyway, lots of good things. So I do have really referred to this book numerous times. I'm rambling here as I do. Okay, well, let's go back to that afternoon when I'm piecing together base pieces so that I can sit on the couch and stitch in the evening, right? Well, and I'm over here, someone telling me I'm doing it wrong because I'm doing prints. Oh, I need to turn that one around because this is where this comes in. This is where this little part comes in. But I have been, it's the person, the artist, I will say. I'm going to credit her because I think she's she's got an amazing YouTube channel, she's an amazing author, and lots of inspiration. She may be my new Judith Baker Montano. She may replace her in my pantheon of inspirational goddesses, embroidery goddesses. And that is Jennifer Clouston. And she actually, I got glare from my ring light. She has other books, and I just
debated long and hard about which one of her books to get, and I decided on this one because I couldn't swing both. So I went with this one, and I think I'm glad I did, because I think this one is more similar to what I need right now. So anyhow, she's the one that said don't use prints, but if you're trying to get this look, don't use prints. I mean, other than maybe a little bit I like print, but if you want to just play around and break a few rules, go for it. But back to Jennifer. I adore this book. There are so many beautiful pictures in here, which, is really what we're looking for, aren't we? I mean, I can just flip open a page and go, oh, that looks fun. Let's see. Even just like, oh, I want to collect all my ingredients, if you will. I want to say sous vide, and that is wrong. What do they do? Mise en place, all my stuff. And that's just inspirational, just to see all the colors and the, all the stuff that you could use to make a piece. Anyhow, so this book, lots of inspiration, lots of good instruction. Again, she shows you again how to piece your blocks, how to make your Crazy Quilt blocks. And this is on my list of inspiration things, is to do something more soft colors. I came close with that one, but like just creams and beiges and pastels, because I love it and I never do it myself. Anyhow, lots of good instructions, and she does a lot with hexagons, which just makes me want to do more with hexagons. And we'll talk about my hexagon project here in a second. So anyway, that's the first part of the book. The first 36 or so pages are inspiration instructions, shows how to make a little stitch journal. Just so much goodness. Then we have in how she gets you going, and what her steps for creativity. Again, we're back to foundation stitches. I don't think you can do this kind of stitching, try to keep this up where the glare doesn't hit it, without the fundamentals of, you have to have a foundation. And so she talks about all your different foundations. See, now what she's doing in this book is free-form floral type embroidery. She's not following necessarily the seams, although she does talk about do the seam stitches first, and then if you want to add like a larger motif, that comes later. So she's doing more organic and wavy, curvy lines, because we're going for like a floral or a plant kind of look here, which I love. And then, so you have your foundation stitches. She talks about that. Then you add, in the next stage, what she calls pressure points. So it's very much like how this one is outlined. There you have your foundation piece, and then you add, in Jenny's world, would be pressure points. The roses, the bigger flowers, the main motif. And so she has lots of instruction here, and each of them, it tells you what page to get the instruction for the individual stitches. So, and they build one upon the other. So, this is, well, let's go up here. These are all cast on stitches. I don't make it that hard for us. Okay. So, where am I? Okay. And then you can add beads, and then you can add more straight stitch, and then you can add silk ribbon. And so if you want, you can stop anywhere along that row, and that's your piece. Okay, I'm over-explaining this. Anyway, then she adds softeners, and these are like just the little bits. So when you go back to one, why can't I find one quickly? One of these, you've got these are your pressure points, but then you can add little things to kind of soften and add to it, right? So there's the same thing, many, many options. Then we add movement. We add these like secondary little sprigs in there with chain stitch and straight stitch and feather stitch and all the things.
Love it, love it, love it. And then you can add finishing touches. You can add, beads, more colonial knots or French knots or doodads and whatsits. And then she gets into the juicy stuff, where you're really adding what she calls sweet delights. So you're taking it. So here is how it's kind of broken down. First stage is your foundation stitch, right? Second stage, step 2, is you're adding your pressure points or your, focal points. Third stage, you're adding, the movement and the little extras, okay? So I love this, so that, and there's a lot of that whole thing through here. So you can see how the steps lead you from one part to the next, to the finish line. Love, love, love. So you have these, what does she call them? I just saw the word. Nuggets of goodness. Isn't that adorable? So you have these little sprays, these things that could go, and I might be one on this one because I have this big empty space, might go across a couple sections on something like this. I might take it, in a couple different places. I don't know, haven't played yet. But then you also have the more linear ones that would go along your seam lines. Oh my God, maybe because it's purple and green, my two favorite colors, combination. That one, the page just jumps out at me. So anyhow, and I just, and then we get in here to the basics. I kind of like that she puts all the instructional stitch basics in the back of the book, because you want to get fired up and excited, and then you're like, I'm ready to go. Oh shoot, now I don't know what I'm doing. And then but you come to that, you're like, oh, here, look, step by step, all the things I need to know, from beading to silk ribbon embroidery and all the things. So as you can see, and as you can tell by my very excited voice, I'm keyed up about this. I'm got my stitching mojo back, although I have other projects I kind of need to be working on. But this is a nice compromise because I do need to get these Christmas stockings, ready for Christmas. So it's good timing to get it done in July and August rather than, November, trying to get it all done. So anyway, that's what I've been working on. I've also been working on a few other things. So if you're still with me and you're one of my regular viewers, we're going to switch camera angles, and I'll actually talk to you with my face and not my hands, because I feel like this is like some kind of weird Sesame Street puppet thing where I'm talking with my hands. So let me move the camera. Hold on. Okay, friends, so I hope you enjoyed all of that craziness, and crazy train, crazy thoughts, crazy process, but some really good inspiration and really good books I hope you found. Anyhow, I know I'm a little bit behind on some videos. I've skipped at least one upload, so hopefully I'll get this one edited and put together for you. So I just wanted to share with my, Ride or Dies, my long-term viewers, subscribers, and I know, so many of you were so kind to reach out and ask, what's going on and things like that. So, but I didn't want to front load this because I want people who don't care, don't know me to not have to sit through all this. So you can skip this. I think I'm done, although there might be kittens at the end. I'm just going to tell you, if you're sticking for the kittens, they might be at the end. But speaking of kittens, a lot of my life the last couple months have just been wrapped up in kitten care. We had 6 kittens back in mid-June, with the stray mama kitty that I took in on a whim out of a storm, and a couple weeks later kept getting bigger and bigger and had 6 kittens in my kitchen. And they're growing. They're actually just a week or two away from being able to go to their forever homes. Mama's gonna go to a forever home, and I may keep one. But I'm still slowly introducing kittens to my other cats to see how that will go. And
I'm afraid I may end up with 3 because I won't be able to find homes for all of them, but fingers crossed, everybody will find a home. I have found a home, well, with some assistance, for at least 3 for sure. So the other 2 or 3, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, kitten update. They're adorable, and as you can imagine, and but that's taken a lot of my time and attention. And then I've just had, summer's rough on me. I know a lot of people get seasonal affective disorder in the wintertime because the light, you know, the lack of light and being able to go outdoors and all those things. I get it in the summertime, basically for the same reasons. I can't handle the heat, so I don't go outside, so I don't get my vitamin D, I don't get my exercise, and I isolate just like a lot of people do in the wintertime. And so it affects my mood, just like sad SAD, you know, affects other people. So it's been a little rough this summer. I've had I had a couple weeks of not the best emotional health and mental health, but I got through it and had a lot of support, a lot of help. So it wasn't like scary bad. It was just sad bad. I just sit on the couch and cry, and for no apparent reason. But anyway, I won't go into all the details of that. Just know that I was pretty much incapable of doing anything outward to other people, and had a lot of feelings of not good enoughness. So making videos for y'all was not on the agenda for those couple weeks. You would not have wanted to listen to me whine about whatever it was that my brain decided to whine about. But what did save me during that time, other than kittens, has been just my art practice, my creative practice. And in my typical fashion, even more than usual, it jumped around. One day I would be watercolor painting, and then by the afternoon I was sitting over on the couch rolling paper beads. That became a whole obsession. And there might be a video about it if I can figure out what to do with all these, but just that mindfulness, just not having to think, just roll and watch TV or listen to music, was what I needed in that time. So find that thing for yourself. So it's sometimes for me it's crochet or knitting, but sometimes I have to count, so that's not good. So just something like that. But I'm not a jewelry maker, so I don't know why I'm making all these beads. We'll have to figure that out later. But I've also was exploring collage and mixed media stuff, but what I always go back to, we all know, is my stitching, and that's where this whole crazy, I was feeling a little crazy in my brain, and so let's put the crazy on fabric and make something beautiful out of our crazy. So see, there you go. There's my metaphor for today. If you're feeling a little crazy, do something a little crazy and put the crazy on paper, in pen, in ink, put it on a, whatever your medium of choice is, and make something beautiful out of your own special crazy. I should just leave it at that, but I'll probably ramble on more and have to edit it out. Anyhow, and also a very brief update on the situation with my dad. I have not been able to go up north to be with him or help my family out with this whole situation because kittens. Everything is, what have you been doing lately? Kittens. I mean, that's just been my life for the last couple of months. Anyway, Dad, unfortunately I don't have good news, but I don't think any of us expected there to be a miracle good news along the line here at any time. And just this week was told that, I don't know what the phrasing is, and this is the difficulty. They're calling in hospice. He's in hospice officially now. But he's going to be able, at least for the time being, stay at home. But this all just happened the last couple of days as I'm filming this, so by the time this video gets edited and uploaded, things may change a little bit. I don't know. We don't know. I don't know, like, where his treatment's going to go, if anywhere forward, or if they're just going to stop all treatment at this point. And all those situations. I talked to him on the phone yesterday, and he sounds pretty good. He sounds like he's finally accepting that this is serious and this is real. And as soon as kittens get all their happy new homes and everything, then I will be able to take a deep breath and gather up my life and go up there and be up there as needed, when needed. And so that's that update. And I think that's it. So find your crazy, embrace your crazy, and make something beautiful out of it. How about that? Maybe that'll be my new tagline. Anyway, peace out. Love you lots. Take care of yourself. See you soon.